Hey guys, Mel here, your 2-time certified coach. I help ordinary people create extraordinary results by offering simple strategies and insights that allow them to design a life they love. And that means you. I am so glad you're here. Stay tuned. Today we are talking about my hike with the Grand Canyon, rim to rim, and life lessons that I learned. I have 5 insights for you today, so stick to the end and so you can learn all of my insights. And then also please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel and also my podcast. So let's get started. So first of all, I'm going to talk about my hike in the Grand Canyon, but I want to talk a little bit about my experience with my companion. And to protect the lives of the innocent, I am going to change my companion's name. And so for purposes of this video, we're going to call my companion Happiness. And I love this idea. I love this idea because I just think I see the world symbolically. And so I want you to have that opportunity to, excuse me, I want you to have that opportunity to see the world symbolically as well, so that you can see this abstract concept and apply it to your life and your journey. Okay, so I talked with Happiness and I said, I want to go see the Grand Canyon. And I think Happiness and I had 2 different ideas of what that meant. And so Happiness said, let's hike rim to rim. And I was like, great, that sounds like fun. Let's go. And then Happiness started to send me information on what that actually meant to hike the Grand Canyon. And I started to get a little bit anxious about that because it was 24 miles, and also it was a 6,000 foot elevation change. And the longest I have ever hiked was 14 miles, which was a beast for me. And then also 6,000 feet, the highest I've ever climbed, I believe, is between 2,000 and 3,000 feet. And so, like, that was something very new and kind of intimidating for me. And so I was like on the edge of this is very new. And then also we had the obstacle of the fact that it's edging on summer, and it was projected in the base of this canyon to be 115 degrees. So anytime you come up against your edge of your comfort zone, this was definitely an edge of the comfort zone for me because it was something I had never done. And then historically, I've not done super well with heat. And so I was a little nervous. And so for you, think about what the edges of your comfort zone are. And there's that moment of questioning, should I do it? And then there's like the 2 choices. No, I'm going to pull back, or sure, we're going to go forward. So if you go forward, my first tip is instead of pulling back, go forward and figure out how. So how is this going to work out for me? Figure out your how. And so Happiness started giving me all these insights of like what we should pack as far as like in our packs, food, hydration, what should we expect. And so staying hydrated for me especially, but for any hiker in that temperature, staying hydrated is so important. So we brought a CamelBak, and then we also brought electrolytes and bottles that we could refill with water. And so so that's my next tip, is to hydrate and then rehydrate. And so think about, what are your goals? What is it that makes you successful? So for example, if somebody is a pianist, the things that rehydrate is like always practicing. Like you can't get good at something if you don't can every day sit down and practice your craft, right? Or maybe can contact 5 people a day if that works for you. So it's those things that work for you. You need to keep rehydrating your goals. figure out what it is that's working for you or that will work for you, and then plan to keep rehydrating. That's so important. Okay, so then the next tip is to take yourself to water. So this is number 3, take yourself to water. All along the 24 miles of this Grand Canyon hike, rim to rim, there were water stations. And they weren't like every 100 feet, but they were strategically stationed throughout the whole trail, right? And so this, I think, is so key. And again, I'm speaking very symbolically. What do I mean by take yourself to water? So you need to find outside sources other than what you've brought with you and what you know that works for you. Go find outside sources that will rehydrate you. And that can be different for everybody, but I would say link to your higher power. For me, it's my Father in heaven, for God. And for others, it might be Allah or Buddha or the Great Spirit, or maybe connecting to Mother Earth, but also things like connecting to um, good books or great podcasts and YouTube videos, other sources that will give you new insights and direction and motivation to keep you going. So find those outside sources that will give you added hydration for your goals. So my next tip. So I've given you 3. This is number 4. Number 4 is do not judge yourself by your hardest miles. Okay, so Happiness and I were talking about our hike a few days later, and I was feeling bad because I was kind of audible at some moments during the hike where it was particularly rough for me. I took breaks. There were moments when the heat was getting to me. This particular moment, we had kind of waited out the hottest part of the day, crossed the bridge to over the Colorado River, and the sun was just directly overhead, and there's little to no plant life. It's just you and that sun and the rocks around you, and the sun is beating down on you, and the heat from the rocks is coming up at you and baking you like a little oven. And that was particularly stressful for me, and I was just like, I don't know how I'm going to make this journey. I don't know, that I mean, it was even just a very slight incline, and it was super hard on me. The heat was heavy, and I was breathing hard, and I felt like kind of a wuss. And we were talking about that, and then there were other parts later on when we were hiking out of this thing, when we had already hiked like 20 miles, and the last 3 or 4 were just brutal because it was all uphill. And so I was just saying, I felt bad for being so audible and for complaining. And Happiness said to me, do you mean your hard mile? And Happiness was referring to that space of time, that moment after we crossed the bridge on the Colorado River, when the sun was just beating down on me and I was having a hard time even just making it from point A to point B, and I was just looking for shade. And when Happiness said that, I was thinking, yes, that is my hard mile, but it's only 1 mile of the whole 24 that we had hiked that day. And so I have to like take an aerial view, a global view of the fact that I hiked the Grand Canyon rim to rim, something I'd never done before. And I just I just have to give myself grace for the fact that some of those miles were kind of brutal for me. And I can't judge myself for that hard mile. I need to just give myself beautiful grace for the fact that not only did I hike the Grand Canyon, but I did it in 1 day. That's an amazing feat. And I was mentioning in a in an Instagram post later that any piece of this hike would have been an amazing accomplishment for the day. So, like 3 or 4 miles down and back, that would have been like a 6 to 8 mile hike. So, so great. But I did 24. So, do not judge yourself for your hard miles. Okay, so that's number 4. Okay, so the last one, number 5, is those last 3 or 4 miles were super, super brutal. And it was, the sun was setting, and then after a little while, it was getting dark. And we actually didn't even exit the canyon until 11 o'clock at night. And so it was just like one of those things where you just have to put your one foot in front of the other. And I noticed something, excuse me. Ooh, I noticed something about happiness. Happiness took the lead, and all of a sudden just started like rhythmically just stepping one foot in front of the other and just going. And it was like full out beast mode at that point. And by beast mode, I don't mean anything other than beast of burden. So if you think about an ox or a horse and how they just saddle up and they can just go, and they can just go and go and go for miles. And so tip number 5, beast mode. And so for your goals, it's that consistent, rhythmic, putting one foot in front of the other, keep going, keep stepping. It's hard sometimes, it's straight up, and you might be tired, but if you just keep going and have that consistent rhythmic effort, then you'll be able to reach the top of your journey, whatever your goal is. And so those are my 5 tips for today. I hope you enjoyed my little summary of my walk with happiness, my hike, my hike with happiness in the Grand Canyon rim to rim. I hope that you can like and subscribe to my videos, my channel. And I just thank you so much for joining. I think that anybody that comes across my journey, I just see beautiful, beautiful souls. And I'm so grateful that you took a moment to learn something new, and hopefully that you can apply it to your journey and build a life that you love. Okay, bye for now.